And that, I believe, is that. You should all be hearing me yakking away into a microphone. I can see sound flipping along on a mixer in front of me. We're here. We're making it happen, folks. It's episode 100. Oh no! Wait a minute. That's the wrong button to press. There we are. There we go. Oh, it's evening, morning, afternoon, midnight, wherever you are. Hello, welcome to episode 199 of Rail Natter. Technically, this is the 200th episode, which is rather exciting. But we're going to make more of a fuss of the fact we've had 200 episodes next week. More on that later. This is episode 199. Hyperloop 1 is gone, but when will this nonsense die? We're asking the big questions here. Hello, everyone. This is an army in the. This is the first one of 2024, isn't it? We're in a new calendar year. Very exciting. Yes, we're here to talk about the demise of Hyperloop 1 here. As you can see, this is its where its test track is here, out in the Nevada desert, near Las Vegas. You can see it's had its branding removed here, which is quite funny. I don't know if you can see close up, but there's an outline where they've sticky taped some white on top of the Virgin logo there to get rid of it, which is quite funny. But this is an open road. You can drive if you're in the US right now. Get the train to Las Vegas somehow, and then hire a car, or get a bicycle. Bicycle would be quite nice actually, as long as you've got plenty of water with you. Drive through this quite stunning amphitheater of Nevadan sandstone through here, and go and laugh at as the liquidator. Oh, my internet just dropped out. Hopefully you've got me back. Wait a minute. Let me go with... There we go. I think you've got me back. Something weird just happened. Anyway, that's not what... It's fine. I don't know how much of me you missed. I was just waffling away with Google Street Map in the background. I'll shut up. Let's get on with the episode. It depends on how much you want to road cycle on the 6-lane highway. Oh yeah, that's right. You would have to... What is it? Is it which is it? Which is the interstate that comes out? It's the Las Vegas freeway anyway. Anyway, right, fine. I'm shutting up. Let's get on with it. Everyone, welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. Whoops. As you can see, it's episode 199, but I forgot to update the title. I'm very tired, everyone. It's the start of the year. Anyway, I did City 235 fades away. Everyone on audio only mode is going to be like, wait, why is he laughing? What's so funny? I'm going to do a better job of audio describing, but I'm just going to leave that gag hanging in the air. Start the year as we mean to go on. Professional as ever. Thanks, Gareth. Yeah, here we go. Right. Let's start with the news. How embarrassing. That's not really embarrassing. It's par for the course. I can never have this perfect. As the network connection fades from view. Yeah, exactly, Katie. Yes. So, two pieces of gadget ban news. Piece number one, reported here rather uncritically by Zoe, and we know you. You're kind of friend of the show, sort of. In that you've changed the way you report on Hyperloop. But do the same for driverless cars, please, Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Technology editor for the BBC. Driverless cars. This should be very much in like triple inverted commas. Tech possible for UK motorways by 2026. Transport Secretary says. We're going to come back to this news article. Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. By the way, Happy 2024. Thanks, Christoph. Yeah, you're right. Christoph et al. Very nice. So that's obviously this is nonsense. Like Harper is gullible, or rather, he's trying to front and center cars, but this is just not the case. There's zero chance, either technologically or regulate or kind of legally, that this is going to happen in the next couple of years. Just no chance at all. Hello, signals to danger. Let's organise something. We need to get something in the diary for this year, the first half of this year as well. So. First piece of news, this is obviously nonsense. Second piece of news, this is from CBC over in Canada. It's another piece of look, Ali. Again, yeah. The chyron here is journalists stop this. We're going to come back to this news article as well. This is the headline of this news article: "Floating trains as fast as planes?" ? Toronto startup says 1,000-kilometer speeds could be a reality in the next decade, eh? This is exactly the sort of headline we've been seeing for 10 years of uncritical, uninformed bilge. Ali, we've got some mutuals that suggest you aren't a fool. Please do better. Don't report stuff like this. Plasma technology key to Transpod's high-speed vision, says company. Transpod is developing new technology that it says will make train travel as fast as plane travel. Chuo Shinkansen is supposed to open in 2027. I don't see it opening anytime. I don't see it opening until the 2030s at the earliest. That's another story, though. That's Intercity Maglev, of which there are also none. Transpod. We're going to get to Transpod. But this headline reads like someone who's never heard of Hyperloop before, and they're telling people about it for the first time, but also in a BuzzFeed listicle type article, in a joke article, not real. It's just, stop this. This is hold this article and the thousands and thousands like it in your mind. So here's the first tweet I ever sent about Hyperloop. I'd done a reply about Hyperloop before that, but I was more cautious in my reply. It was several months earlier, but this is the first time I did a tweet about Hyperloop. And this is November 2017. Hyperloop is the stuff of wild technological fantasy in the US, let alone in the UK and Europe. Nonsense. This is a response to Michael Fabricant suggesting that Hyperloop makes HS2 redundant. And indeed, this is why I had to start learning about bloody Hyperloop. I'd safely ignored it for 5 years or 4 years, ignored it as a thing, and only had to start paying attention to it when people started telling me that HS2 was redundant and Hyperloop was the thing. Funnily enough, fairly quickly after I engaged in that subject, me style, as I'm sure most of you could understand, that did seem to die away. And a couple of, Rory Cellan-Jones was as much of a cynic as I was, and I appeared in the video. In fact, my first BBC appearance was talking about Hyperloop. Rory interviewed me about it, and I said a few things rather unfavourably about this nonsense. Although I think I was quite kind in my wording in that article rather than more recently. Jack Elliott, his last name is good, a combination of fabrication and... Yes, you're right. Yes, right. Sorry, Rich, let's get my miniaturized. Talking of the word that I just bleeped there, let's get my little face. Hello, it's me, everyone. Hello. I promise I will be getting a haircut. I'm going to audio describe a mustachioed idiot with excessively bouffant hair, which he needs to remove desperately. Also, unshaven neck beard, not in a good state. These are things that I should have got. Also, even my sideburns are too long. It's just embarrassing, isn't it? I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm letting this side down. I do apologise. It needs to do better. I will be getting a haircut tomorrow by my hairdresser. The cutting station. That's right, make my entire life one thing. I have a thing and I run with it. No, it's just coincidence. They were the nearest hairdresser when I lived on the other side of York, and when I get a hairdresser, I generally don't go anywhere else because that's the thing. Most people do that. I don't know. In the chat, do people change hairdresser and don't care, or do you all stick with a hairdresser forever? What's weirder? You know what? We're doing this. This is Rail Natter. And we're asking the big questions here. Hairdresser, ? Keep with same, change about. There we are. Start poll. Let's find out. These are the important questions, everyone. Anyway, right, enough of that. Let's go back to a small face again. Yeah, so that was that kind of disappeared. Anyway, let's set some ground rules, everyone, about Hyperloop. Some very important ground rules. The first ground rule about Hyperloop, and this is particularly goes for anyone in my mentions, but just generally, do not engage in any technological debates about Hyperloop. If someone's trying to debate you about whether the tubes work, whether the vacuum is possible, whether the speeds are possible, whether the switching mechanism can actually work, whether what the safety mechanisms might be, ignore them. They do not rise to it. They're trying to legitimize the system by talking about getting you to roll around in the mud, arguing about technology, which may or may not be feasible. Do not engage. That's ground rule number 1. Ground rule number 2: do not reply with the Simpsons monorail meme. This very much cheapens the sinister nature of Hyperloop people. Firstly, that it gives them an excuse to dismiss you back. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun meme, but do not use this for Hyperloop. Hyperloop is sinister because it's intended. It has a purpose, and it unfortunately has been succeeding in that purpose, which is to make real transport solutions not happen. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this previously in way back in episode 37 of RailNet. Why is it so important to tell people that Hyperloop is bad? It's a good episode. Go back and read it. And we go through a few of the ploys that allow this stuff to. And to be honest, really, this episode that we're doing now, 199. Actually, the answer, the question that we ask can actually be answered by this episode 37, with why kind of these ploys explain how it continues to survive. But we'll kind of expand on that point. Michael says absolutely. But I saw someone making a 1/60th model of a Hyperloop using a drain pipe. Therefore, it must work on a larger scale. Right? Question mark. Right? Question mark. Yeah, exactly. Gareth is saying, for 2 years after I moved back from Liverpool, I travel up early every month for a cut. For a haircut. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, good. I'm glad. 86% of you keep with the same hairdresser. Absolutely. We're going to come back to this. Is an important theme that we're going to pick through, I think, as a secondary theme of the episode is haircuts. I like it. This is, if nothing else, this is supposed to be, hopefully we're going to get lots of angry replies from Hyperloop people who are like, well, he kept talking about hair and haircuts for the episode. Well, welcome to Rail Now. This is a community of happy people who sometimes like to distract ourselves from depressing nonsense by talking about where we get our haircut. Anyway, and this sketch that I did, which was the first, this was the mega thread that got everyone to really start. Annoyingly, it doesn't get cited very often. I should have put it into a Medium article or a paper or something, shouldn't I? Anyway, this thread got cited a lot. This was my first really big viral thread. It went around the houses big time. And I made the point, but coming off the back of lots of Hyperloop nonsense, I made the point that the reason this stuff gets traction is because you end up in, this is why you don't talk about the technology, you end up in this circular discussion of people talking about the abilities of the technology, including the Hyperloop people going, look, our technology can do this, can do this, can do this. And then you also end up in lots of discussions about, what could you just think what we could unlock if with all this fantastic high speed, transportation, just and then think about the technology and it kind of round and round and round and round, kind of gargling in pig shit. And no one ever really talks about the important thing, which is the capacity of the system. How many people will this system move? And fun enough, the answer to that is quite easy to calculate. You don't need to know anything about the technology to work it out, because all you need is the speed. Because you can just use your Suvat equations. Those are your S, they're referring to displacement or distance. U referred to initial speed, V final speed, A acceleration, T time. Suvat. Elementary physics. This is basic. This is mechanics. Shout out to Dr. Couch, who was our. I think he was fine, but he was probably one of my more suspect secondary school teachers. In honesty, I think he was actually completely innocent and didn't realize it. But knowing what I know now, possibly not. Anyway. In any case, Suvat. Your Suvat equations. Just use your Suvat equations. How do you work out how many? What the system capacity is? Well. You have here a pod. Here's a pod. It's going. Let's say it's going this way. It doesn't really matter. It has a certain number of seats in it. Let's say it has 20 seats in it, right? 20 seats. So that's 20 passengers. 20 passengers. This thing's going at 1,000 kilometers an hour. Then it will have. So if this thing's going along at 1,000 kilometers an hour, it will have a distance before it is at 0 kilometers an hour. So there'll be some braking distance here. That braking distance, say, is whatever it might be, 4 kilometers. Then that allows you to work out, all right, okay, well, how long does it take to break that distance? Okay, fine. Well, that takes probably about 40 seconds, probably, if you say it's about 30 seconds plus, or 35 seconds plus a bit of tolerance for this technology to kick in. So 40 seconds, right, okay. So you can have, there are 40 seconds between pods. So between each pod, you have the pod with its people in it, 40 seconds. By the way, that's inescapable. You cannot run pods closer than their braking distance apart from each other. There's no chance that you will. These systems are guided. This would fall under ROGS and the equivalent legislation everywhere else. These have to be 40 seconds apart from each other, or safe braking distance plus tolerance apart from each other. 40 seconds. So what does that mean? That means that you can fit what's 3,600? 3,600 divided by 40. That's 90. So that means that you got, what's that, 90 times 20. Oh, yeah, there we go. So what did I do? So 40 seconds, 3,600 is the number of seconds in an hour. 3,600 seconds per hour, which means that you can have 90 pods per second, which means that you have 90 times 20 equals 1,800 passengers per hour per direction. You know what I should have put up here is the in fact, who's got the not a metro sorter there? Because I'm under the impression that if you've got 20, this is a bus. It's a bus. It's a bus. This is a bus, folks. Yes, and of course, as this is 90 pods a second. Then you start going into what do the stations look like to enable 90 pods per? 90 pods per hour. Yes, that should be 90 pods per hour. 90 pods per hour. How do you get a station that can have 90 things through it an hour? It's what? So yes, this is obviously completely. So that's how you work out capacity. You can all do this. You all have the capacity to do this. There we are. Hopefully that little lesson has given you the tools to work this out. Michael C is asking a genuine question. Would it be possible to make Hyperloop with actual trains instead of pods? No, because at that point all the other stuff which we're about to talk about comes into it. So thank you, Michael C. Hannah Goodliff. Hannah, did you by any chance to go to Penglis Comprehensive in Aberystwyth and did Dr. Couch speak very gently like this? Anyway, Michael C, excellent question. Air asks very good question. 1,800 passengers per hour per direction. HS2 as planned. HS2 would have had 19,800 passengers per hour per direction. Thameslink has around about 40,000 passengers per hour per direction. Thameslink 2, aka Crossrail, has around about in fact, no, it has exactly 36,000 passengers per hour per direction. I think some of the New York subway has in fact, let's look at metro systems are one thing, but let's stick with high speed. I think incidentally, Chuo Shinkansen will have around about 10,000 passengers per hour per direction. Air, yes, very good question. Martha Lawrence, gondolas can manage sub-minute headways, but they're also not high capacity. Yes, exactly. Remy is saying RERA, so there we are, RERA in Paris can achieve 65,000 passengers per hour per direction. Now, what does that mean? It means that nominally, if you wanted to if you want to match HS2's capacity, say, it means that you need in each direction 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's one direct. You need 10 tunnels in each direction. There we are. This is your little lecture session going on here. 10 tunnels in each direction. So that's add another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's get my perspective right. Sorry, there. 10. So if we've got 10 tunnels, say each tunnel is, let's make it tight. Oh my, Hannah Goodliff. Dr. Couch was Welsh. May have moved to Somerset. Could be was he a kind of a rugby scale looking chap? I love diversions like this. Right, this is important. Hannah. Right, here we go. Was Dr. Couch, did he have like long, potentially pony hair, tail, dark hair, sat at the front, often sat on top of the front desks, occasionally in a bit of a compromising pose? Gently spoken, Dr. Couch. Bit of a rugby player, like forward type build. Oh my goodness, this is the same guy. Okay, we had the same. Yeah, he taught mechanics to me when I went to Aberystwyth for a year and a half when I was at Penglas. There we go. Right. Okay, we're there, folks. That's it's important discussions. So this is 10 tunnels in each direction. So we've got 20 tunnels. So 20 tunnels, and we're multiplying 20 tunnels by, say, 2 meters a pop. So just 2 meter tunnel. Let's just assume very favorably that you can make them 2 meters a pop. So that's times 2 equals 40. So that's 40 meters. 2 meters gives you a very small interior thing. So I think the Transpod one or HTT's one was actually 4 meters. So that then goes up to 80 meters. So that's 80 meters plus, the various structural elements. So you're talking about a 100-meter swathe in a straight line, because this thing, for it to go 1,000 kilometers an hour, is a straight line. All of a sudden, you're starting to see why this is gibberish. But to come back to Ina's actually right. It's 11 actually to achieve what HS2 has. Yeah, you're right, as being favourable. So Michael C, your point as to why would this not then work with other trains? Because, oh, by the way, Martha picked up a good point. Just as well, bored tunnels are a famously cheap thing to build. Every single company that pushes this has not considered or modelled bored tunnels. They all have modelled their business case on elevated tunnels because they all rely on selling air rights and having solar panels on the tops. None of them, including Hyperloop transportation technologies, which is one of the lead ones, we'll get there, none of them have modelled bored tunnels. So we're talking about 100 meters wide swathe cutting across the landscape in a dead straight line. Can anyone, not what this picture shows, can anyone wonder why that might be not functional even remotely? Anyway, so that's kind of these three. There's 4 issues. Number 1 is capacity. Number 2 is corridor. Number 3 is complexity. Number 4 is cost. All of these neatly fit together. So as we've just talked about, 100-meter wide corridor to get the capacity. If you are going to get that capacity, or likelihood is you're not getting the capacity. This thing is pathetic. But the line of route, is still defined by physics. It doesn't matter whether it's a Hyperloop pod or a train. Super elevation, the amount that you can comfortably rotate that pod to get it round corners, are about the same. So that means that you can only really cant the thing over by about an angle of maybe 6 degrees, possibly 9 degrees at most. If you kind of match, APT did 15 degrees, so you could go to 15 degrees. Even if you go to 15 degrees, I would say that's not very safe and accessible, because the floor should be angled such that it's safe and comfortable for people to stand on it and walk along it. If, for example, it got stuck like that, it should be accessible. And so on an angle like that, that means that your curves are going to be 10, 12,000 meter radius curves at their tightest for the speeds we're talking about, which is essentially a dead straight line. For comparison, those are HS2's sort of gentle, slack, flat curves are about that, but generally the curves are even flatter than that. So, Martha's absolutely right. You can build this technology just fine, except in places where literally anyone lives or anyone has any care for the environment whatsoever. Yeah, so this picture of it curving gently, also with one tube, where's the passing loop on this? Or is this just one direction? Or does it just one pod? Because that 40 seconds requires minimum two, because you can't run these. How are these passing each other? So this is just one. So you talk about 40 seconds. No, this is going to be what we can see on screen is at least 2 minutes of headway between pods until a passing. Do you see what I mean? Gibberish. So that's corridor. The complexity element is a bit like what I talked about, referring back today to the pad of a kind of guided bus tram thing. Complexity is about the fact that this is a proprietary system. It's a system that is untested technologically, so building it, any contractor building this, it would be expensive. It's untested, but also the compatibility element. All these different systems interacting, proprietary systems. How do they fit together? How does it get built? All these questions. And the fourth is cost. To build this thing, either it has an enormously tiny capacity and you've built a viaduct which has this single tube viaduct is as much civil engineering as required to build HS2. Don't be under any illusions. The idea of this thing, these pipes are also hilariously far, like the supports are hilariously far apart. That's not happening. But even if it was, this is still an enormous. Don't be fooled by the CGI hills and Transport Fever 2 ass looking kind of terrain. This would have been a scar on the landscape to build this thing, and it would require a huge amount of concrete. You can see all those tall. Also, the idea that this would get planning permission with this height, that this would get planning permission anywhere in the developed world, is also very funny. So on those 4 counts of capacity, corridor, complexity, and cost, it just falls down. So but we don't need to dwell on that. Let's have a little. Let's dig into. You've got to hand the token to the signal at the passing loops. Absolutely, Martha. Yes. Tim Ballum saying it's built like a roller coaster. The passengers just get extra G's. Yeah, indeed. So let's talk about what the Hyperloop companies are up to today. This is the meat of the episode. We want to find out what they're up to today, and therefore we can judge. Look at the half-arse background rendering. Yeah, they've just given up. Basically, it's like Roblox ass looking. This situation. It's just rubbish, isn't it? Anyway. What are they up to today? Let us start with, there's a group of organizations that founded their own sort of, I don't know what you'd call it. Oh, by the way, the pixelation on this logo, this is native straight from their website, and they're using this pixelated ass version of their logo. Bad graphic design is so easy to overcome. Anyway, so the Hyperloop Association includes like 6 or 7, or did include 6 or 7 companies. Let's find out what those are up to before we dive into some of the other companies that aren't part of this snazzy association trying to make itself seem like a real thing when it isn't. Let's get cracking. Here we go. Did I actually answer, Michael C, did I actually answer your questions? I think I did. I think all those 3 extra points of corridor, complexity, and cost explained the other point. Just that there's no benefit to this stuff. The energy consumption of this thing as well doesn't stand up to scrutiny. So let's start with Hyperloop One. We all know what happened to Hyperloop One because that's why this episode's happened. It was founded in 2014. It was based in the US. The last real update was in November 2020 when they ran their little test pod bouncing around. They've not even invested in an SVG logo, Katie. You're absolutely right. If fewer than 50% of them manage to not get acquired by crypto speculators, then they're doing better than the asteroid mining industry. Lol. Incredible. Yeah, okay. Does the developed world include the US? Question mark. I'm not going to answer that. Jack, these arguments hint towards a hard upper limit on high-speed train speeds. What do you think it is? 450 kilometers an hour? I don't know, actually. That is a question that I think could be a rail natter and might be one that we could get a proper academic in for. My suspicion is that you don't need to go much above. There's not... Continental distances, there's value in higher speeds, but I think once you get to those continental distances... aviation probably is still, from an energy consumption perspective, I don't know. Anyway, Long Branch Mike is here. Hi, Long Branch Mike. What a pleasure. Anyway, right, Hyperloop One. It's being liquidated. It's gone. It's gone. Hyperloop One is gone. But there are other companies. So let's start with the other big Hyperloop company, which is Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. It was founded in 2013. Based in the USA, but it has a presence all over the place, particularly in France. The last real update was in February 2023. So, by the way, when I'm saying what this last real update was, that means I go through all the news that is we've invested in this made-up technology, or we've created this new mock-up, or we've created this new. Actually, no, the mock-ups I am counting. We've created this new 3D render picture and have made that in news into the news somehow because rubes. No, the last time something physical that they actually physically did a thing, and it was February 2023 for Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. I think it was when they've made another mock-up because they'd had their test track rejected at the end of 2022. But they are in the process of attempting to merge with a fund, the cash, some new venture fund, and they failed to. So my suspicion, given the lack of news, is that they've run out of money. Also, their main bescarfed weirdo, Bebop Gresta, has jumped ship. More on him later, everyone. He's very much a hero of this. He's our Trash Future hero of the piece. He has a name that would also make all of the Trash Future crew burst out laughing. We'll get there. This does look like the logo of a men's shampoo. Yes, so which one? Hyperloop 1? Yeah, no, Hyperloop TT definitely looks like a men's shampoo. So, current status, has made 2 mock-ups, mock-up pods. It had its test track rejected and has run out of money. Let's go for another one. Let's go for Transpod, Canada's finest, 2015 it was founded. I think these are in roughly year order, but no particular order. Originally they were in alphabetical order, but it was anyway. So Transpod, their last real update, the last time they did something real, they've never have. To my mind, Transpod have never done anything real ever, and their current status is just grifting. They're just grifting. They're just grifting. Honestly, I don't think they've done anything physical at all. Happy to be corrected on this, but I could not find any evidence of anything physical other than just renders, news articles. They're possibly some, like, I'm not counting university level tinkering as doing anything, but this is there's nothing, absolutely nothing. They're not doing anything, and yet they get news articles like the one we saw earlier. Who else? Oh, Hard Hyperloop, and proudly on their website they announced that they are co-funded by the European Union, and herein begins one of the problems. So Hard they were founded in 2016. They're based in the Netherlands. Their last real update was in October 2023, so that's fairly recent. And the current status is that they are storing some pipe in a goods yard for 12 million euros of EU cash. Yes, you heard that right. 12 million euros of EU cash. I mean, technically it's the European Commission cash, but I've said EU for the sake of clarity. They're also planning to merge with another company, which we're about to put up, which is Zelarus. The Transpod really does look like a shaving cream. I'm loving the fact that we're talking about hair. It's down to 78%, by the way, who keep with the same hairdresser. Keep voting, everyone. Keep voting. We need to understand how this works. Yes. Is that Transpod? Sounds like a podcast for trans people. Yeah, I know. Claim, God damn it, the trans community, claim the name Transpod off Transpod and call a podcast Transpod, because it's that would be a good name. It sounds stupid and goofy for a transport technology. It sounds awesome. It's like an incredibly trans, not just the fact that it has trans in it. It's a very and I hope I'm not out of turn saying this, it's a very trans-coded name for a podcast. It's quite, anyway, I love it. Transpod. Okay, there we go. The campaign to start that begins. So Hard, 12 million euros of EU cash merging with Zelarus. So the reason I keep flicking back is because there's a slight delay on the chat, so everyone's kind of catching up. Ina's shocked at the fact that 12 million could have electrified a good branch line. Yeah, absolutely. 12 million of EU cash. Yeah, even in the UK, that would get you, 6 kilometers of electrification. They're merging with Zelarus, so that's hard. What are they actually doing? Well, yeah, as I say, they've rented some space in a goods yard near Groningen, and they've put some pipe in it. That's what they've done. Zelarus, who are merging with Hard, founded in 2016. When was Hard founded? Both founded in 2016. Interesting. Zelarus is, should be Thelarus, I suppose. Based in Spain. The last real update was December 2022. They have one mock-up. They have one small pipe, and all of that for a cool 15 million euros of EU cash. 15 million euros. Yes, folks, we're talking big numbers here. This is really not good. I'm loving logo. This is Logo Pod. This is Logo Natter here. The heart logo. Not sure. Martha's not sure what it is, but it's definitely something you'd see on the back of a truck trailer. Yeah, it is, isn't it? A bit weird. Anyway, this one seems to be like they've stolen the Extinction Rebellion logo. Bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, the National Rail Museum in York also has had some Hyperloop nonsense in it, and I suspect it will continue to. Although I've been doing my very best. There's a gallery. I think I can probably say this. I'm on the advisory panel for the Futures Gallery within the National Rail Museum, and my role was basically to say, do not put anything to do with Hyperloop in here without severe context and including some stuff that from the past that didn't work. I tried my best. Anyway, yes, Martha Lawrence saying Theleros has strong fintech startup logo energy. Yeah, it does. You're right. Anyway, let's have a look at what they're up to, because look, this is an example of it. They have some stuff. Now look at this. You'd be forgiven for thinking from this picture with the grain storage ass looking laboratory, where they've bought a load of stuff presumably from an F1 an low tier F1 company to just make it look like things are happening. They have like a shelf that has wheels under it. There's audio describes best I can. They've painted one of the electricity cables that they can plug their stuff into green. They've got just a regular yellow sort of crank crane to lift stuff up. It's probably rated to lift 100 or 200 kilos. They've got a couple of lights hanging from the ceiling, as one does, but it's quite a high ceiling. And then they've just got general other stuff in boxes hanging around, presumably just some laptop cables. They've got just a regular industrial fan that they've bought. Not sure why. What else have they got? They've got what appears to just be like a steering wheel attached to a shaft. But also, the thing I've not mentioned is that they have what looks like what does it look like? It looks like a Dyson hairdryer, but it's larger. Now, you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, that's fair play, that is a thing. Now, why are they all ignoring it? Why are they nowhere near it? And why has it got all its casing on? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because that thing is just a piece of plastic that lights up with a mock-up stuff inside. It's just a mock-up. It's nothing. This is basically a garage, and they're storing their mock-up in it. That's what this is. We rented this EJ200 engine mock-up for looks, says Adam Evans. Yes, indeed. Hannah Goodliff is going, ooh, stuff. I've no idea what an actual engineering lab looks like. Hannah, that's why they've filled it with bits and pieces that they've got from a sale of some Jordan Motorsport spin-off or whatever it is. I don't know what the bottom tier F1 racers are anymore, but passengers sit roughly where the compression blades live. Yeah, this is just they've made a mock-up. It doesn't seem to have any way of actually running along the ground. It's just a tube, like a toilet tube with the front part of a cowled jet engine on it. It's very strange. So again, that's like, right, fine, but have they got I did say they had a mock-up, but they also have a short stretch of pipe. So let's look at their test track. Here it is. Look at this. It's the hyper track where they've got a gazebo. They have some porta-cabins, which I presume include the loos, and they have, you better believe it, they have a pipe. This appears to be a pipe that is 0.5 meter in diameter, if that, maybe 40 centimeters. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. Each segment looks to be about 1 to 2 meters long, so that's about 10 meters of pipe. Maybe a little more, but yeah, that doesn't look like much. AlphaTauri is legit. Yeah, I'd be William. Oh no, Williams aren't at the bottom, are they? Jordan is the current Aston Martin team. Oh, all the F1 nerds in the chat. Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, yeah, probably it would be Jordan. It'd be Jordan. It'd be whatever Jordan has transferred into again. Or I'm trying to think of some of the mid-tier, kind of the low-tier companies when I was watching. What were they? Virgin, I suppose. This was one of them. Yeah, this is it. But remember, how much was this again? 15 million euros. Anyway, let's talk about Novomo. Let's go to Poland. Founded in 2017 as Hyperloop Poland. It's changed its name to Novomo. A few of you are going to be interested in this one. Haas are the current bottom end one. Stake F1 team. Yeah, okay. The current status of Novomo is that they have, well, they've inverted commas given up on Hyperloop, except that they have given up on Hyperloop, but they're still riding on its coattails to push, and this will answer a few of your questions on Twitter, to push an equally nonsensical load of rubbish. How much money have they nabbed? 23 million euros of cash. 23 million euros. They've won a load of awards from I'm not sure who, Rail Tech Innovation Awards, top railway technology startups to watch, top 10 Polish EU startups to watch. They've got a load of these sort of things here. The best Polish hardware startup to watch in 2023. Best Railway Deep Tech Solution Company, Central Europe 2022. Let's talk about these guys. Sounds like a Dutch insurance company, same logo vibes. Yeah, I'd go with that. So this is their plan. Their plan is that Novomo have created this thing that they're calling MagRail. Now, let me just immediately disabuse you of any notions that this is anything short of as much nonsense as Hyperloop is, right? What they've done is said, no, we're not doing Hyperloop. No, we're doing something that's a transition to Hyperloop. So we're taking conventional high-speed rail that can only manage up to 330 kilometers an hour, and we're going to, on the existing infrastructure, run pods up to 550 kilometers per hour. To which my immediate response was, what do you think makes the trains limit to that speed? If every railway line was a dead straight line, then this may not immediately be complete gibberish. That isn't what all railway lines are, though. All railway lines are curvy, even high-speed ones. In fact, arguably high-speed ones spend more time being curvy because they don't have space to actually fit any straights. For the most part, they're curvy. They're curving one way gently. They're curving the other way gently. But gently at 330 kilometers an hour is violent at 550 kilometers an hour. What do they think limits trains to the speeds they go at? Oh my goodness me. So let's just, and their logic is that they run on the existing tracks, they would run the Hyperloop pod, and that means that they could then use Hyperloop dedicatedly for the new infrastructure and then run on Hyperloop for faster bits, but using the same pod. So that's how they've managed to convince the European Commission to give them 20 million euros. So they've got this track thing, and their proposal is that you'd build. So this is where it's like existing infrastructure. No, this is not existing infrastructure. This what you're describing here is not existing infrastructure. You're proposing a substantial and significant addition to existing infrastructure that would get rid of, for starters, all existing track-mounted signalling equipment. What? Where are you putting the substations to power this thing? Where is the electricity coming from? How are the cables being managed to power this thing? This would be an enormous civil engineering and electrical engineering undertaking, just putting the substations in to get the extra electricity in. So here's a picture of the kind of the test track, which, as you can see, is not very long. Here is a mock-up, and on the mock-up here they have not shown very much other than a little thin dinky middle rail, these pad things either side, that question mark. What I think is most fun though here is that they're implying, by the presence of a freight train going in the other direction and a curve, that this thing is running also Transport Fever 2-ass loading screen type graphics going on here with everything motion blurred in the foreground. They're implying here that this thing runs among existing traffic. Again, what do you think is limiting the speeds of trains in amongst other trains? How quickly are you catching the train in front up? Or rather, how much are you getting rid of all the other trains to run this thing faster? It doesn't make any sense. This is gibberish. This is absolute gibberish. This is even funnier because it's attempting to place itself into the real infrastructure. Again, this is tapping into the credulousness of not just non-engineers, because engineers fall for this crap, the credulousness of people who just aren't applying basic critical thinking. So let's leave Novomo. So that answers. So a lot of you are asking about Novomo, and does it have any merit? No, it's shit. Ignore it. It's rubbish. Right, let's talk about SwissPod. SwissPod makes me giggle for a variety of reasons. SwissPod was founded in 2019. They're based in Switzerland, funnily enough. Their last real update from them was July 2021. It's a little bit of a while ago. Nevertheless, they managed to net themselves 3.5 million of EU cash via the Swiss government, and which you might think is strange. Switzerland isn't part of the EU, but they did nab that EU cash via the government. That curve, well, it wouldn't need banking if it's like a low speed. To be honest, if it's just a freight track, then it doesn't need any banking. But you're right, there's no super elevation in there. There's no cant in there, Remy. You're right. Anyway, sorry, back to SwissPod. Current status: they built a circle out of drainage pipe using 3.5 million euros of EU cash. Good stuff. What does that look like? Here it is. It's very nice, isn't it? Look at it. In their words, it was the first infinite Hyperloop test track. Again, this is just students building this is a student spin-off company building a pipe in the campus of a university, which is fine, but that's all this is. That's it. That's all this is. That's it. 3.5 million euros, folks. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Why I think this is funny is that Swiss Pod, as it was called, is not related to Swiss Metro. This is Swiss Metro-NG, or New Generation. Swiss Metro is what Elon Musk plagiarized Hyperloop off. All of this, you'll notice this thing is basically Hyperloop. This is their website. Their website should age the company marvelously. This is... Martha Lauren, please always be in the chat. I need just a Martha button, actually, and I just press it and you can just talk into the episode. That would be quite good. I just open up a dedicated Discord channel, and every now and then you can just say things. Martha Lauren says, many people do come to university hoping to lay pipe. Anyway, SwissPod. SwissPod, Swiss Metro, they don't have any relationship to each other. The SwissPod are saying they're the natural successors to Swiss Metro, but Swiss Metro still technically exists, so I don't know if the Swiss Metro people, who I presume are some guys a bit like Colin Elliff and Quentin MacDonald, have bought into that, or they're feeling like they're being wiped out. But anyway, Swiss Metro is Hyperloop. Like Swiss Metro was the thing. There's the name of the thing that was what Hyperloop was called before Elon Musk made up the name Hyperloop, which he did, by the way, because the name Hyperloop dates back a lot before Elon Musk attempted to patent it. But that's something else you have to read about in a potential publication that might be out at the end of this year. More on that at some point in the future, I'm sure. Anyway, Swiss Metro, lovely. So that's SwissPod. So 3.5, yeah, this is very much 3D word art from Word 2003. Gotta love it. It's got the gradient. It's got the text gradient here. Where's my mouse? Yeah, here you can see it's got the nice little blue gradient, which weirdly is being used by the current TransPennine route upgrade graphics department. What were they thinking? I'd prefer the previous one, but anyway. But also, you notice this thing doesn't just have one pod. It's got a spiky end, but it's got 1, 2, 3, at least 4, and possibly then another spiky end. So it's got kind of 4 carriages. So you could argue this is a more developed in their head concept. Like, some people have thought more about this, and you'd hope so, because Swiss Metro dates back to the 70s. So yeah, right, that is all the stuff that's scooped into the Hyperloop Association that they made up. So let's just talk. Hello, everyone who's watching, by the way. 160 people tuned in right now. Hannah Goodliff pointing out, oh, wow, this makes so much sense. Elon truly has never had an original idea in his life. Hannah, you're absolutely right. That is absolutely true. Not a single, I don't think a single idea he has had is original. Not one. So that's the Hyperloop Association. There are other companies, though. You might figure that quite a few biggies are missing off here. Let's start with CASIC here, which is the Chinese sort of a Chinese aerospace company. The company founded in 1999, but that's not when they started doing Hyperloop stuff. The last real update we had from China was in January 2023, off the back of very scant information, very, very scant information. Basically, one shared press release among the kind of the standard news, kind of Chinese news organizations. They presumably have a test track and some form of pod, but my inference is that this is likely to be like a cheap quickfire mock-up to have some Chinese market presence and make out as if something is happening in China on this front, basically to appeal to all the American companies that have a Chinese presence, I would imagine, just to say, look, yeah, China is still on top of things too. And here is the test track, which appears to be this appears to be, I mean, from what I'm looking at, it appears to be a skin, not a tube, with stuff sort of hooked into it. So this looks like a kind of a gazebo tent. This is just a fairly straightforward kind of concrete rudimentary track. And they've kind of got this like maglev pod. This just appears to be a maglev pod. There's no vacuum here. So just firing a maglev pod. But also it could just be a thing on wheels going 100 miles an hour on electric with side conductors. There do appear to be some magnets here and here. But again, this is just a maglev test. I don't... But anyway, they're claiming... a Hyperloop, that it is a Hyperloop thing, but since the news article that said this was happening, nothing. Let's talk about TUM Hyperloop, or TUM. This is München, I believe. Is that right? Technical University München is where these folk are based. Founded in 2019, based in Germany. I don't know why I hesitated there. I was like sitting on the word Deutschland and was like, well, no, just say Germany, it's fine. The last real update was in September 22, where they kind of announced that they had a mock-up. I haven't found any pictures of that mock-up, but they said oh no, maybe there were pictures. I got pictures in the next bit. Oh no, sorry. They said they have a mock-up. Fine. The last real update was this in September 2022, which I think we had in RailNatter, actually, as a bit of news. Here are some people, including some very gullible, the Prime Minister of Bavaria, I believe, and a lot of other people, all getting very excited about this thing. Let's remind ourselves, this is September 2022. There is no evidence that anything has happened since. This is probably because Germany wants to get in on the Dutch act. The French don't care for a Hyperloop, so they didn't give Hyperloop TT their Toulouse test track. Boohoo. So the Netherlands and Spain have, inverted commas, test tracks. Germany probably wanted to get in on the act and pretend that it's real as well. But no evidence that this exists. Can anyone go on Google Earth, find out where this is, and find out if there is any existence of this? Go and have a look. Yeah. So here we go. Let's. I'm trying to find out what bangers are being kicked out in the chat, but you know what? I can't keep up. There's so much hot banter going on in the YouTube chat that I can't keep up. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go back to the Netherlands. Delft Hyperloop, founded in 2016. As with quite a few of these Hyperloop companies, they're kind of university spin-offs with a bunch of students who graduate and then say they're going to be a thing. Now, Delft Hyperloop is interesting because they've not got any real updates. They've never done anything real beyond just tinkering and vibing. Honestly, I'm kind of at peace with that. I think Delft Hyperloop has the best vibes of all the Hyperloop companies because it's just students tinkering and vibing and presumably, having fun with each other's partners. That's basically what university's all about, and these guys are carrying that energy forwards beyond university, and why shouldn't they? They're not doing anything physically useful. They're doing lots of university tinkering with, and I don't see that they've got much more than just like a bit of university grant money. So I don't know, nothing. Yeah. Jack Elliott found the TUM stuff on... go on, drop a... Wait a minute, Jack, I'm going to make you a spanner and you can drop a Google Street View link and we'll have a look because that's always good fun. Add as moderator. They are, Jack. Standard moderator. Save. Jack, you're a spanner now. You can drop in a link. Imagine getting photographed at a Hyperloop event. Well, indeed. I was at a Hyperloop event in Milton Keynes. A lorry crashed into me in the smart car, and I survived and went to the event for your benefit. That was years ago, though. That was a very long time ago. That was before COVID. Was it? Yeah, it must have been before COVID. It would have been 2019 at some point. I found the whole thing deeply depressing, and I came home really, really depressed. There we go. Oh, I didn't find it. Just find out Jack Elliott. See if you can find it on Google Maps. That's a picture I should have found. That does vaguely, that's a thing. It's about 10 meters. Oh, this is the mock-up, isn't it? This is the mock-up. Yes, sorry. This isn't the test track. This is just the mock-up that they have that they take places. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just going to drag this here and go. This is TUM Hyperloop. Here is the mock-up. Yeah, this is the mock-up they had. I should have put a picture of it. You can see it's just, they've just put a mock-up on a forklift truck and they kind of hike it up and pretend that then they've got some lights inside a pipe. So you can see it's very much a mock-up. It has no bearing in reality. Anyway, right, let's press on. So that's Delft Hyperloop. Another company here, a US company, Arrivo, not to be confused with Deutsche Bahn's British transport company, Arriva. No, this is Arrivo, with a Samsonite briefcase ass looking logo here. Quite something. Last real update, none ever. There just doesn't seem to be any evidence that this was or is ever a thing. It was liquidated in 2018. So yeah, this it doesn't exist. So though they're supposedly a Hyperloop company, they never Arrivoed, according to Long Branch Mike. Thanks everyone. Everyone's on fire in the chat. Love you guys. Let's talk about this logo for starters, which what? It looks like a cultural misappropriated tribal tattoo, but actually, even more confusingly, this is DGW Hyperloop. That's why I put the little note in the bottom corner. A baffling logo. Founded in 2015, based in India. This is the Indian Hyperloop company. If you ignore version Hyperloop 1, who are supposedly going to build a Hyperloop to Pune, I think, and they did not do that. Founded TUM, Test Track, and Google Maps, and it's just another model. Yeah, classic. The last real update from this company, none ever. They don't do anything. This is yet another of the it's just a website companies, because this is just a website. It's just a website. It's not anything real, just a website. Despite the topic under discussion, Gareth only has 6 squares on the Gareth bingo. Good grief, crikey. Arrivo's Toblerone shape pods never even made it to mock-up stage. Well, indeed, Long Branch Mike, indeed. Next company. This one's fun. This is Hyperloop Italia. Now, this logo, content warning, I'm going to flick through slides fairly rapidly, so close your eyes if you're photosensitive. I'm going to go back now. We're going to look at what logo does this look similar to? Just Hyperloop TT. Okay, let's if we squished that logo, I wonder if it would look similar to this logo. So this is like an amped up version with serious kerning and the reason why this is related to Hyperloop TT is because this is what Bebob Gresta went. I believe he's an Italian man. This is what Bebob Gresta went to do after he was ejected, possibly ? From Hyperloop TT. It's based in Italy. This is a guy I questioned in person, and he did not like my questions to the point where he got rather sweaty and upset, which made me very happy. This is in Milton Keynes. He'd come as the keynote speaker, and I made sure I made him feel incredibly unwelcome. Based in Italy, obviously, because Hyperloop Italia. The last real update, none ever. Again, this is just a website. It's just a website. That's all it is. Just a website. TUM's got a YouTube video of their pod moving. It's a lie. It's a lie. Yeah, as Martha points out, it turns out you can just make a website. So, here is Bebop Gresta. I chose this picture because it's a picture that he put on his own website. Anyone who puts a picture like this on their own website, well, let me just auto-describe this picture. We are looking at how to describe him? I would describe him as a no. Who's the actor who I'm trying to think of? Gosh, help! I'm having a brain. No. I don't continue without disabling. I just want to see. No. Here he is, Ed Norton. Of course, that's a guy who looks a bit like Ed Norton with a kind of a goatee. Basically, he's modeled himself to look like a skinny Tony Stark, but if Tony Stark was played by Edward Norton, that's kind of what this guy looks like. In fact, that's exactly what this guy looks like. He's even got the kind of he's even kind of got the Tony Stark ruffled up, kind of dyed black hair. I would describe this as a cry for help. But actually, it's all a grift. It's a grift, everyone. It's all a grift. Go onto Google, just search Bebop Gresta on Google Images, and the pictures that you will see are of his book and him looking very tanned with his book Hyperloop. Here, lots of very snazzy looking pictures. There's a picture of him speaking at the World Economic Forum. Very rapidly, you realise that this whole thing is a grift for men like him. That's a secondary requirement of this a secondary requirement of Hyperloop, as we know what Hyperloop is actually for, which we'll get to later. But lots of men can essentially ride off the back of this as a grift to advertise themselves, and get very expensive paid speaking gigs. And all of these pictures of him show how much of an insufferable prat he is. Just absolutely the worst kind of guy. Properly, yeah, his name is Bebop, spelt, I think, yes, spelt Bibopgresta. He's often pictured in a kind of a loose, skinny tie. The front of his hair is spiked up. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe this guy other than, like, he's I don't know. I just got to stay this side of... In Minecraft, he would be the person who ends up in a variety of assault lawsuits if he was like the boss of your workplace. Maybe that's why he got kicked out of Hyperloop TT in Minecraft parody, possibly speculation, cannot get sued for this speculation, etc., etc. Anyway, so yes, here is here he is. Oh, it's 2102. Yeah, thanks. What did I say we'd get to later? Oh, yeah, we're nearly at the end, folks. Don't worry. This guy, and so we have to jump forwards to another company, Genesis Hyperloop. They have no logo because there is no sign of them on the internet other than a couple of press releases that said they existed as a Hyperloop company in 2015. They're based in the USA, never had an update. They didn't even bother with a website. Martha says you can have a website, and they didn't even bother with that. But it's gone. It doesn't exist. Now, the last Hyperloop company. Now, confusingly, this company exists after its first update. So it was... Oh, tell you what I've not done is update a piece of important text from... look behind the curtain. They're founded in 2017, based in the USA. Boring company, of course, Musk's ostensible transport organization. Current status of the Boring Company. Well, the last real update was in August 2013, because the last real update about Hyperloop from the Boring Company and Elon Musk, whose face I'm not going to put up here because he'll give all of us a stress headache, is his... what he called as his white paper, which I believe is that I don't know if it was the alpha paper, but it was a white paper, and I'm using very broad inverted commas on this one. So that was it. That was the last real update. And was that even an update? No, I'm being kind calling that a real update, because Musk and the Boring Company have done nothing to do with Hyperloop. Not one thing. I'm not counting their little competition that they've organised, which I think is also SpaceX anyway, run that. Boring Company we can happily ignore the fact they've done flamethrowers and they've buried a queue of Teslas. We can ignore those things. So that, and then begs the question, well, if Musk was the person who created Hyperloop, question mark, what was the point of it? Now, there's no one better to kind of refer back to than Paris Marx. They've written just to ensure that there is a wavering of interest in a wave. I don't know why. There we go. I'm getting excellent connection again. My internet's dropping again. I don't know why. I'm so sorry, everyone. Actually, you might have to go back to this bit and watch it, because it'll work afterwards. Anyway, yeah, the whole point of this was to just delay California high-speed rail. That was the whole point. That was it. That was what Hyperloop was about. That was it. But anyway, go and read Paris's excellent piece on Disconnect, that the Hyperloop is always a scam. Well worth it. I don't know what's going with the internet. I don't know whether it's because York is currently completely underwater and the bottom floor of the house has flooded. I'm so sorry that it's getting jittery at this point, everyone. I suspect I'm just getting weird. It's just weird things happening on YouTube. I'm not entirely sure why. What can we learn from this? Well, the first thing we can learn from this is it's about the European Union. What can we learn about the European Union? Well, the EU is very stupid and has wasted at least 53.5 million euros of its own cash on this easily debunkable nonsense that I can debunk with a couple of tweets. This is staggering level of political negligence. I would describe this as negligence. It's just absolutely shocking that we're at the point where the EU has signed off on spending any money on this rubbish. It's shocking. And this is what happens when you allow when you don't have good advisors within, or confident advisors within the EU, this is an indication of democratic failure. Democracy should not be able to spend this money on stuff that's so easily debunked as nonsense. Like, this is just staggering amount of cash. In the big grand scheme of things, it's not that much. But this money is not going to other proper good research. It could be going on proper railway research. This is what I know about. Other stuff across the board will have been. This is probably there will be much more money than this that the EU itself will have spent on other things. This is just deeply frustrating. Just for clarity, I'm pro EU, but this is an indication of where the EU is hopeless. Transport policy is one of the EU's absolute weak spots. Everything about their various rail directives is pretty hopeless. Some of it has value, but obviously we had John Worth on to talk about this, and John takes a slightly different view from me on some elements of it. But I think the EU are just hopeless. They spent so many tens and tens of billions on roads. Just an awful organisation in terms of transport. Hopeless. Anyway, right. So that's one thing we've learned is that the EU is spilling cash on this stuff. And the other thing is, so where are we at? Well, I think I've kind of answered that question. These companies aren't really doing anything. There's a few little minor schemes going on, but actually, again, nothing's happening. And as we know, nothing will happen because it's nonsense. They're not going to magically fix the things we've talked about, the 4 Cs of capacity, of corridor, of complexity, and of cost. Those are not getting solved by 200 years of research. That's just not happening. You're not solving them. Why is it still dragging on? Well, I'll tell you what, it's still dragging on. It's because of articles like this. This is why. This is why. Actually, Hannah has asked a very good question. I'm going to go big face on this. Hannah, you've kind of tapped into a point, and the issue is that engineers are not either. They don't speak up, or they're idiots getting involved in this stuff as well. This is the problem. Not enough engineers are speaking up about it. Either they're like, well, I don't understand this stuff, so I'm sure someone's going to work out, or they're beholden to Elon Musk. Not enough people have actually, and partly this comes from the fact that not enough engineers understand the operational stuff. Lots of engineers, even track engineers, whatever it is, think this can work because they just build the track and they don't actually think about the operation. I'm sorry to say, and it's one of my big, in the kind of the role I've picked up, which I can talk about in a month or two, my new job. One of my big things I'm going to be pushing on is, as engineers, we should understand we're not just building a physical thing that looks like a railway. We're building a thing that can be run as a railway. And it's a thing that I fear a lot of engineers don't get. And that's partly why engineers haven't got in the way of this stuff. However, I dare say journalism has more to apologise for, because, Ali Chiasson has published this article. Articles like this, with headlines like this headline here: floating trains as fast as planes, ? Toronto startup says 1,000 km/h speeds could be reality in the next decade. No, this is what the headline should read. Transpod enters 9th year without building anything. Company still claiming its technology will be a reality in the 2030s. That's how to write that headline. With the subheading of plasma technology key to Transpod's high-speed vision, says company. No, don't quote the company uncritically. Actually think about why are they going on about plasma technology? Well, the latest patent added to Transpod's list is plasma technology. One of the things these companies try and do is list off a load of patents and then lease them back to whoever finds them actually useful. So they're not, and often the reason that the students are the ones who are picking these up is because students don't get paid much. So it's a few rich venture capitalists trying to patent farm off a bunch of underpaid students, which is kind of pretty unethical and unpleasant. So this is someone who's completely, Ali, a complete rube. You shouldn't have written this article. But even Zoe, who, Zoe wrote this piece about driverless cars. This headline, which you might think is balanced: driverless cars, tech possible for UK motorways by 2026. Not in inverted commas, Transport Secretary says. This is what the headline should read: Transport Secretary's 2026 driverless car target, technically and legally unachievable. Because later in the article, that stuff gets said. That should be, the baseline reality should be the headline, not driverless cars tech possible for UK motorways by 2026. Don't put the quote from the idiot as the headline. This is the problem. Headline writing, journalists just getting to go on a fancy trip to Las Vegas, traveling the thing, think that it's real. But the way to fix it is by speaking to the journalists. Message them. Don't be too mean. Reach out. Say, I'm not sure about this. Do you want me to write a story? Do you want offer them content? This is what I do, basically. Offer them content. Go, actually, there's a story here, but it's not the one that you're telling. Do you know about this, this, and this? And indeed it works because... Oh, it almost works. Zoe did change her... In fact, I was speaking to Zoe in DMs and she was sending questions to the former CEO of Hyperloop 1 before it folded, just after they'd done their fancy test and created some new CGI. So Zoe, in the loop on this. But yes, Hyperloop shutting down. I owe you a beer, Gareth Dennis tweeted Zoe at the end of last year when this news was announced. Because yes, they're done. It is possible to shift this stuff, but you have to kind of communicate. You have to be a good communicator and communicate. You also have to reach out to the journalists and kind of meet them halfway and understand why they're publishing what they're publishing, which is what I try and do. But yeah, don't scream too loudly at the journalists, because ultimately they're being shouted at to create quick content. What you can do is provide them more content to counteract. But the trouble is, these venture capitalists are very good at creating enormous amounts of stenographic dross that's very easy to turn into quick articles. The grift, Richard Moody's right. The grift involves loads of tech buzzwords no one really knows much about. That and journalists are not normally technically qualified. Precisely. This is and Katie, you're absolutely right. The editors write the headlines, so this is an editorial challenge because the editors think they're writing the headline that works. And headline writing is, the BBC are particularly bad at it, but headline writing is just hopeless across the board. Really, really, really bad. Long Branch Mike, an independent journalist, advocate of and creator of independent journalism, by the way, is important. Needs our donations to call out tech bros bullshit. Support websites like London Reconnections, support the independent writers like Paris who are counteracting this bullshit. Support me on the Patreon, because I'm one of the people, writers, who counters this stuff. Support those good writers. Find the good writers. Find the inclusive writers who do their best to, aren't always perfect, but do their best to kind of be inclusive and actually listen to a multitude of voices. Support those writers. Support Taj Elliott Tribune, for example, is a great example. Just, yes, even the engineering magazines fall for this stuff. The B2B magazines fall for this stuff all the time. Yeah, Paris Marx's Disconnect blog is fantastic. Well worth going in and subscribing and providing that support. It doesn't have to be much, but just a little bit of, sharing the stuff is, if you don't have the money, then sharing that stuff and using it, sharing that against articles and just counteracting the stuff is really important. And you can find, if you want to find out more detail, if you want to dig into detail or just enjoy the chaos, Paris's book is very good, Richard. You're absolutely right. If you want to enjoy the chaos, then there's a link in the description of this video that you can go into and go back through my back catalogue of loopy hype stuff that I've tweeted about on Twitter, which might provide you some additional reading material and fun. 77% of people keep with the same hairdresser. This is important, critical information I'm very glad we know about. So... there we go. That was a bit depressing, wasn't it? But hopefully useful. I'm so glad that Long Branch Mike is with us talking about independent journalism as a progenitor of such. Yeah, Paris is absolutely great. Just so much time for Paris. And thanks to all of you for joining. Martha Lauren wishes that someone was buying Martha a beer. Yeah, Martha, I suspect I will never get that beer, although I will definitely try and call it up. Yeah, I wonder how making journalism primarily a master's degree would affect technical know-how. Yeah, support London Reconnections. It's ever scraping by. Yeah, correct. All this good stuff. Right, let's wrap the episode up because I've dragged it on. You've all been lovely. Do send some. If you've got any further questions, I haven't made it hugely questioning. I feel like I've dragged it. I desperately want to get Paris on. I've messaged them a couple of times. I need to make it happen. As a one-man band, it's just a case of pinning people down. We have a few good guests next year, but I'd absolutely want Paris on, yeah, for sure. Right, so let's get rid of my face. as ever, in audio-only format, hopefully well audio-described. Apologies if do call me out if I'm not audio-describing well enough, for those who do just listen in audio-only form. Some of you just because you like to listen to it in podcast form, and some of you for accessibility reasons. If you've got blind kind of followers of Railnatter, then hello to all of you. Do shout at me if I'm not doing a good enough job of audio-describing. Do send me feedback. Send me feedback either on these podcasting platforms, or you can message me in various ways. So thanks for all of you listening. The usual plugs: patreon.com/GarethDennis to support me being able to do the little bit that I do to debunk whether it's guided bus not tram nonsense as today, or whether it's Hyperloop, or whether it's anti-high-speed rail nonsense, whatever it is. The Cambridgeshire not autonomous, not metro, not Cambridgeshire either, that sort of thing. Then Patreon is the way to do it, or paypal.me/GarethDennis if you want just a one-off violent hurling of change into my face. GarethDennis.co.uk/merch for the merchandise, and GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord for the Discord server, where the chat continues, and Martha's on there, and you can are you on there, Martha? Actually, I made an assumption, but perhaps you're not. You go into the Discord server and try and find Martha is what you can do. Some exciting. Alex, looking forward to. I will make sure I will do the change in the credits. That's very exciting news. Rightly, you should be feeling happy about that. Creature XXII says, going off your gadget band chart, would the Vancouver SkyTrain found in Canada be a gadget band because it uses linear induction motors but uses standard gauge tracks and steel wheels? Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm going to have to go away and have a think about it. I'm going to have a good think about that. Ina, it's been good to be back for another Railnatter after a break caused by evenings talking transport and housing at the council. Ina, an absolute pleasure. You have a good evening as well. So, all of that waffling. It's been lovely to have you along. Next week, though, is the official 200th episode, if not the spiritual 200th episode. And we're going to do every episode of Railnatter so far, except not the first 100. We're going to do another one of these. This time, though, I'm not going to just go through them one by one. I'm going to cluster them into similar themes to see what we can kind of pull out as big themes. So it's going to be a whiz-through, an hour-long whiz-through of those episodes, but trying to pull out those key themes to remind ourselves of them and remind me of them as well. Long Branch Mike needs me to... Oh, SkyTrain, not Gadget Band. Speak to Long Branch Mike. Understood. I will DM you, Long Branch Mike. Railnatter speedruns. Let's do this thing. Yeah, that's next week. And it's going to be a pleasure to have you along. And I don't know... It's episode 200, so we'll presumably have to have some champagne, or what I probably will have, which is some cordial. I'll probably have some elderflower cordial, because that's nice. Is trains a big theme? It is. You're right. It is. Anyway, I'm gonna go big face. Like I said, it's just been an absolute pleasure from me, and indeed from Miles. Miles here saying hello. Here's Miles. What a champ. Miles just hanging out with us in the background here. It's been an absolute pleasure. For those of you in audio-only format who have no idea who Miles is, then it's very difficult to audio describe what appears to be a scatter cushion with triangles and legs. Anyway, right. I will see you all next week. Welcome to 2024, everyone. Cheerio!